We are live. I'm quite sure we're live. I'm pinching myself. Can't believe it. Hello to the wonderful Kristine A. Lombardi.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's so exciting to have you and to celebrate your brand new picture book, which
Thank
is
you,
simply called
Tom.
Crouton. And wave it in front of everybody and say a few words. And we're going to delve into it because it's brilliant.
This is her.
Okay, so now's a good time to say that it launched on January 27th with
Yep.
Random House. Go for it,
Yep.
dear.
I'm sorry.
Now, this is your opportunity to say a few words about the book.
Oh yeah, it came out just 2 weeks ago, and it's funny with publishing. It feels like it takes forever. You're trying to sell the book, and you're editing the book, and then it finally gets acquired, and you're editing it all over again, and then there's that time, which is usually about a year, where you are just waiting for the book to come out. It feels like a small eternity.
It is. It is. So I'm going to introduce myself before I forget. I'm Mel Rosenberg, and I am the host of the Children's Literature Channel of the New Books Network. And Christine, I'm so happy to have you on the show. You were recommended by one of the people in Kidlit whom I hold the highest esteem for, Stephen Fraser,
Oh
um,
yeah.
who is your agent. And just like Crouton, you picked him, and we'll have to delve into that.
Okay.
So a few words about your book. Show us some of the gorgeous artwork. You're also the illustrator and the author. Tell us everything.
Okay, yeah. So it's the book is definitely very pink. These are the end papers.
You know, you
Uh,
had me go to Wikipedia because
oh
for a
yeah.
moment I said, oh, maybe cats only. I never had cats, and I'm really not a maven on cats.
Yeah.
We have some in our yard, but they're feral. Um, and I went to Wikipedia. Maybe cats only see pink. What do I know? And they do see a restricted number of colors, but
Right.
pink is not one of them.
No. Yeah, I don't know how this would I think what happened is when I did the dummy for this, which is a mock-up of a picture book, I drew it all out, and dummies are generally, for me at least, they're done in pencil, so they're a little boring looking. So I added this little pop of pink to kind of make the pages stand out a little more. And then I think people reacted to that, and I ended up keeping it. I kept pretty close to the dummy, which is extremely limited in terms of palette. Um, and I dedicated the book to my boo, who was a calico tuxedo mix that I adopted, and just life changing, just the kindest little creature. We had such a bond, and that's where the story started. It was the second cat I adopted. Well, anyway, I'll just show you the book.
It was the second cat you think you adopted.
Yeah. They adopted
Actually,
me,
exactly.
totally
So,
adopted me.
so yeah, go
That's
ahead.
her in the shelter. Um, it's basically a story about, it's just, I flipped the narrative. So it's all through Crouton's perspective of waiting for her person to come by every day at the shelter. Um, it's just all about her point of view and finally seeing somebody that uh
That she wanted to adopt.
exactly. And I used to visit a lot of shelters, which I found both depressing and also just endearing to see all these little sweet faces. But I used to think, like, what is it like for them? Because we are always saying things like, oh, she has such a sweet disposition, and this and that. And they're getting judged every day. So I kind of started to think, I wonder what they think. I wonder what they think of us. And so when I adopted Boo, I just remember this pivotal moment. I couldn't make up my mind. I think I just wasn't quite ready. I had lost another cat of mine that I had for almost 20 years.
Well,
And I remember putting Boo back in the cage. I held her, and, she was a sweetheart. And I just remember closing the door, and she just held her head high. She just, And it broke my heart. It was almost like she's been put back in this cage so many times, and almost like she wasn't believing that it was going to happen. And just that was the turning point. And I took her home.
I'm a big fan for these reversal plots or these plot reversals.
Mm.
I'm a sucker for these quirky stories. I find them the simpler they are, the more brilliant they are in my mind. Uh,
No,
the
that's
idea the idea of the cat choosing the owner and then writing a story about the owner, including some of the the good stuff and the bad stuff. Sometimes she
mm,
doesn't exactly behave according to how she's supposed to,
right.
but still, I love her. It's it's
Yeah.
such it's such an adorable book. Tell us now about your history as an author and an illustrator. You didn't start out in that field. You started out in advertising.
Yes. Yeah. So,
Start at zero. Start at Kristine.
okay.
Where did you
Well,
grow up? How did you grow up?
yeah, if I go way back, I always loved art. I was always the kid with the crayons. And I remember being like a very social child, but also needing my time to just sort of daydream. I remember vividly, I climbed a lot of trees and I used to go up and just sit there and just observe the world. And but if I wasn't doing that, I was playing Barbie dolls with my neighbor friends. I grew up in a beautiful little town in New England where we had our house abutted to a field. So we were always running in the field. And in the winter, we were sledding. Um, and I had a very creative mother who, on rainy days, she'd bring out this thing called an activity box. And it was literally filled with a bunch of junk. It would be my father's, his,
There's a story there, by the way.
yeah, probably. It would have caps from his shaving lotion and just random bits, little things from the kitchen. And she'd put it down and say, make me something. And of course, I would, oh, wow, the gears would start turning. And so and I always credit her for my orange bedroom growing up. I swear that had something to do with, not that I use orange a lot, but it is one of my favorite colors. And I just think, like, I don't know, she just always pushed creativity. Um, so then I guess I'll cut straight to high school. The School of Visual Arts came to our high school. But back then, it was the 80s. I wasn't ready for the city life. I was always in these little towns. I was a big chicken, basically. But deep down, I wanted to go study illustration. But I was more pragmatic. I ended up going into advertising. I got an internship at McCann Erickson, where they stuffed me in a stat room for 8 hours a day.
Which is the Penguin Random House of advertising.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I learned a lot there, but they really did. They had me in this dark room all day making stats, which is digital art. So I would emerge, at the end of the day, just completely blind, so completely discombobulated, but it was a great opportunity. And then from there I ended up getting a job down in Austin, Texas. And I had a crappy job, entry level traffic manager, so I was the one that pushed all the work through, the one that everybody hated when I came around, because
Did you go to university?
I went to University of Texas, but in Dallas.
Oh, and what did you study to be to
Liberal
work at
art.
an advertising agency and at a and to work in traffic? These are like mhm.
It was a lot of just coincidences. Like originally, I'll tell you, I still feel a little heartbreak. I wanted to be an anchor woman. That was my dream job.
Of course you did.
I just had an obsession with the news, not so much just just being an anchor woman. I applied to Emerson. I did not get in. And I remember my guidance counselor saying, you kind of committed college suicide with this because you didn't apply to enough schools. And so I kind of stayed in a liberal arts tract in college. Wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do, but once I was in that advertising world, I loved it. I thought people were so much fun, and it was a good way to be creative but have a salary. Um, so then I kind of went, I did this traffic job, which is something you kind of have to do starting out. And I learned a lot about how the jobs flow through the agency. Got yelled at a lot. I had a crazy boss who used to slam his door every 5 minutes, and he knocked a hole in the wall once. Just, you know, crazy. But I ended up moving to Dallas and working in the art buying department, and wasn't really happy there. I mean, I enjoyed agency life. It was more of a promotional agency. But I realized as the art directors would come up and make requests to me, I said I should be an art director. So I quit my job and I gave myself basically the summer to put a portfolio together. I begged all the creative directors there to give me assignments. And I just worked all summer, put a portfolio together, and went back in as an art director at the end of the summer. So that was a bit of a coup for me back then. And I just loved it. I loved the creative process. I loved the people. We were an amazing agency called Tracy Locke,
Mhm.
and we had mandatory foosball championships. So I would I would get summoned over the PA system that it was my turn to play, the round robin. And we just had crazy fun times there. And I worked on the Pepsi account, and it wasn't the most glamorous job. I didn't have the big, the big ticket items. I had, kind of the low hanging fruit. I did a lot of can panels for Pepsi, but I had a
No,
blast.
no, no, no Frito Lays or whatever.
A little bit of Frito-Lay tie-in. I
Yeah,
remember
okay.
once
All right.
I was on what they call the field market. So one time they put me on a promotional I don't know if it was for the cans or what it was, but I remember getting the job jacket and the title was Party with the Elways. And I called out over all the cubicles, who is John Elway? And I thought they were going to kill me because all the guys wanted the football, the Super Bowl stuff. And I just didn't care. I mean, I did my job, but sports stuff, never really my thing.
Yeah, you move the goal. You move the goalposts. Why they?
Yeah.
Bad, bad, bad.
What's that?
Yeah. Eh, so, and how did you morph from all of this into writing children's books and illustrating them? And how did you
Well,
break in? Breaking in
I
is so
bas
difficult. Everybody
yeah,
has a story.
it's very difficult. What happened is I eventually left advertising at the advice of one of my bosses at the time. I had so much fun drawing up new business concepts. That was my favorite part of the job. Any chance I got to draw. And one day I felt like she pushed me out of the nest and she said, "Why aren't you an illustrator?" So I said, and it stuck in my head. And I eventually went out on my own as an illustrator. Um, Always had an interest in children's books. In fact, at that time, I was going to this local bookstore, Half Price Books in Dallas, favorite store on earth still. But I would look at all the picture books. I'd spend hours poring over them, and it was something I wanted to do, but I couldn't. I couldn't write. And flash forward years later, I took a course at School of Visual Arts with Monica Wellington. A lot of people have gone through her class. She's wonderful. And I learned kind of the nuts and bolts of it. I eventually set my sights on being a children's book illustrator, but that ended up being more difficult than anything because you're competing with so many people. And it's very hard, especially if you specialize in animals, your window gets narrower. So I had an agent, an illustration agent at the time, and I came up with this character, which became Lovey Bunny, my first book. And somebody at Abrams loved her and asked him, "Is there a story to go with it?" So you better believe I wrote a story. And I had a few failed attempts, but she kind of coached me a little bit and said, why don't you take one of these vignettes of everything Lovey loves about life and narrow it down and expand on it. So I chose the dress up theme because that was something that was very near and dear to me from childhood. I used to steal my mom's shoes and run down to the basement and clicky clack around. It just was a natural progression. So I focused on that, and on the book, in the book, I stole the mother's dress and tore it to shreds on my skateboard outside, showing off. So that's how I really got into writing.
How did you find your first agent? It's so difficult to find an agent.
I had a
Hmm.
few agents over the years. I haven't always had a great
How,
agent.
how do you find them?
A lot of just
Hi,
reading
it's
up on them.
Kristine.
Huh?
Hi, it's Kristine here.
Yeah, hey, what's up? Um, they were all illustration agents in the beginning. I just had a lot of people that it just didn't work out for a variety of reasons. And then I realized I probably really need a literary agent. So for several years, actually, from the first book until I think this is the eighth, I didn't have an agent. I was doing it on my own. And it was
Wow.
difficult. And I had some editors give me sage advice and basically say, you need a buffer because I was trying to play agent myself. Where are we with this? And I know I irritated people, but it was my book and I had to kind of wear a lot of hats. And they said it would be easier for you if you could just focus on the creative and have somebody else um, do the other stuff. It would be easier for us because we could give feedback. And, I think the agent softens the blow a bit. So if they don't like something or they reject it, it goes through this little.
So Steve Fraser, who is one of the most respected agents in the world,
Mhm.
um, you told me that you picked him. I'm going to see him in about a week and a half, and I'm going to verify everything you tell me now on the air. So be careful, Christy. You
Okay.
picked Steve Fraser. He picks one author out of about 10,000, and you picked him. It's
Oh,
exactly like
geez.
it's like Cruton here.
Well, I have been on this search for an agent for literally years. And I just said I can't make the wrong decision. So there was a lot of up and down. There was a lot of people that I thought I wanted to be my agent. And I think I just responded to him and how we still interact. And this is very simple, but he wrote me back right away. There's a lot of people that leave you dangling, one of them for 10 months. You think they're interested, but then they're waiting so long to get back, or they say, I love Crouton, but then they're still taking a long time to get back. And I understand things take time, but I think um, when I sent Crouton to Steven, he loved it immediately. And he wrote me back, and I was a little bit shocked because I was sort of choosing, I had finally heard back from some agents that I thought I wanted. But I respond to how he's very nurturing. Um,
Mhm.
I'm a little taken aback by it, honestly, because he wrote me yesterday and he's been going to all these bookstores in New York, finding Crouton and facing the book out. Don't tell him I told you that. But it's very sweet. It's very sweet that he's proud of the book. And I've never had that. I've never had somebody kind of act as a cheerleader. Um, and if I write him, I think we're both early risers. If I write him at, 7 in the morning, I might hear back like within 15 minutes, which is for me unheard of. And that ranks very high in my book because I think a lot of the harder parts of this business is a lot of people just don't get back to you and you're wondering, and you're in limbo and you send a book out and they might have it for months. And that's just part of it. I mean, it's par for the course, but I respond to just that being able to communicate almost in real time. So
It's
it's just
so kudos to you because Steve. I once made a computation with him. He does get between 10 and 20,000
Really?
Um, yeah, it's incredible. He's a very
Did he?
sought after agent, and usually he writes back to people. He's also one of the kindest in the business,
He's very kind. Yeah, I think that's the perfect word for him. He's kind.
and very discerning. So the fact that he picked you,
Oh,
um, you're his crouton, or he's your crouton, or whatever,
my crouton.
is astounding. Can you read a little bit from the book? Because when I was growing up, my favorite book was Madeline by
Oh,
Ludwig Bemelmans, and when I see a book I really love, I say, oh, this reminds me of Bemelmans. But there is something in your book that does remind me of Bemelmans, and
oh my
it's
God.
this, he has all these pages with this yellow palette, and you have this pink palette, and there's something in the line drawing. I can't. This may be just me, but
That's the highest compliment ever. I'm a huge fan of Bevelman's, and I think a lot of people don't realize he also wrote for adults. So I have a bunch of his books, like first edition books, that I found on eBay. Yeah, I've collected over probably 20 years now. He wrote, oh gosh, how can I forget the name of it right now? Hotel Splendide. And I was really into Paris at the time. So he wrote this book, Hotel Splendide, all these little vignettes of his life in Paris. And, he really had a hard life and he really had a hard time making a go of. I think I just related to his story as well and his charm. And he also wrote a book called I think it was called Parsley. And he kind of called out these hunters that, the cruelty of hunting an innocent deer, which that's something that really bothers me. And
so I'm glad I got it right for a change. And can you show everybody a couple of your beautiful spreads?
oh,
It's a gorgeous book for because and read also the text and the idea and the drawings. It's so cuddly and friendly.
all right. Can you see okay?
Hmm.
Hello, my name is Crouton. I live here at the animal shelter. That's me on the bottom row, waiting for the doors to open. Each day I watch the people walk by my crate. I'm always on the lookout for my person.
I love that.
Thank you.
Not
It can
not
get
not 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 an unnecessary word in this whole book.
Probably not. Well, I have an editor who helps me pare it down. It can be, and I'm plugging Maria Correa, a lovely woman. I'll talk about her more later. Um,
Exactly.
it, it can be a tough decision. They all seem nice. Even so, not everyone would be the right fit. Sometimes I wonder if my person is out there. Guess I should show the brats. There's always some. Sorry, pages
Who,
stick.
who says you're an animal
What's
illustrator?
that?
You're a fantastic kids illustrator too.
Thank you. Oh, wait. Who is that? She's adorable. Everyone is trying to adopt her, but she's my person. It's starting to feel like she'll never notice me over here. But then it happened.
Love.
I am finally taking her home.
I love that. I love it. Did you chuckle when you were writing this?
Yeah, I had to keep pushing it though. I wrote this probably 17 times because it just wasn't,
That's not. It's really nothing.
yeah, I mean, it
I
wasn't
I
developed
I
enough.
I, I wrote Emily about 100 times.
Did you really? Oh,
No,
we have to talk about that because I
no. This is
rewrites. Yeah,
this
I
is
used to
your
resist
show.
them. Yeah, and then
Oh, no! Don't resist rewrites. Oh
rewrites.
no.
I used to hate them, but now I feel like you can always make it stronger. If the words are okay, the picture could be funnier, vice versa. Um,
Okay, go ahead. I don't want to get
oh,
in trouble with Random House because they're my publishers also. So we're not going to read the whole book.
oh,
Just show one more double spread. We're
oh, just
finished.
one more. Okay.
Yeah.
When we get there, I do everything I can to make her feel welcome. I make sure she's well fed and drinks plenty of water. After supper,
It's so
I
funny.
see After supper, I see to it that she has a nice warm bath. Then we read a captivating bedtime story. I keep her head nice and toasty, which is something that Boo used to do. She used to sleep on my head. She got a little chunkier as she got older, so I would wake up with a crick every morning. But she would just drape herself over my head and whatever. It was adorable. So I was on board.
It's great. And how did the process go with Random House?
It went great. The minute I started talking to my editor, she wanted
No,
me to.
no. So one thing. Steve showed it to several
Sorry, yes,
houses. How did it work?
yes. Steve sent it to somebody there, and then I think the person didn't have that kind of. I don't know if it was picture books or what, but she said, I'm going to pass this on to somebody that I think would love it. And he let me know. And of course, I think I was probably rolling my eyes like, oh, yeah, this is not going to, we'll never hear from them. But we did.
He passed
And
it on to Maria, which is fantastic because had he passed it on to Annie Kelly, she might have taken your book instead of mine.
oh, no, no, no.
Worked out fine.
No, it's not. Oh, I don't want to feel
So,
good.
so how did it go with Maria?
I mean, she was so lovely, and she cracks me up because she's a nomad. She's all over the place. So I think she was writing me back then. I don't know if she was in Scotland, but we talked. She's such a warm, lovely person, and so I think she gave me some feedback, and I made some tweaks to the dummy. I think I had to make some of the art a little more compelling. And then she had some text edits that I needed to tweak. And then she introduced me to the art director, Liz. And I think by fall, we all began to collaborate and have more meetings. And so I spent the fall of 2024 into winter 25 working on the book. And it went great. I had the best team ever. They were super supportive, great feedback, just really an enjoyable process. And um, yeah, it was great. It really was. It was a very streamlined process. The book, I was amazed at the care they took in the printing. So they sent me proofs from overseas, and we all looked it together and agreed on, tweaking this and that because the pink was a little bit problematic. It's very bright, and it was brighter in the beginning. Um,
I cannot wait to see the book, which I will in about a week and a half.
oh yeah, because you're coming to New
Um,
York
yeah, in the wild,
in
and
the wild.
I might even get to meet you.
Oh, I would hope. I mean, I really hope we can meet. And Stephen, he's been a champion of finding it, like I said, so he knows where the book is in New York more than I do. Uh, but yes, I haven't seen it in the wild yet, other than at the Kinokuniya, the Japanese bookstore in Bryant Park.
Mhm.
I signed some books there, so I was able to see it there, but I haven't, other than
I'm
events I've done.
I'm going to go to Bryant Park, but I'm probably going to buy it at the corner bookstore where my launch is, and
Okay.
I'll make sure that they have a couple of copies of your book
Oh, thank you.
so that I can buy one.
So I want to
Um,
hear about your book.
well, okay, this show is about you, but if you insist,
I insist.
my book looks like this. It's like you have a pink one and I have a blue one.
I
It's
love
called
it.
Emily Saw a Door. And it's also with Random House, the Random House studio with Annie Kelly, illustrated by the phenomenal Orit Magia because I cannot draw a stick man.
No,
And the original book was in Hebrew and it's orange. The original book is orange.
really, I love orange.
Your favorite
That's,
color. Yeah,
but that's adorable.
I'll have to bring a copy in Hebrew to show you.
Okay.
But the Annie and her gang took the blue from the first door of the book and it just boom. So I'm very, very I would say I'm tickled pink, but I write that I'm tickled blue.
Tickle,
Um,
pickle blue. I can't even say
you can be tickled pink by Crouton. Um, so you have like a bunch of other books. I'm now finished talking about my book. It launches on February 24th. And now back to the wonderful Kristine. A few words about your other books and what you have coming up.
Not sure what's coming up. I've written a bunch of books, and I have another idea I've been kind of playing with, but haven't had much time to dedicate to that lately. I've sort of taken the promotion of this book on as a full-time job. I actually left my part-time job so that nothing would get in the way, which is a little crazy, but it was part
It is a lot of work getting the word out.
part. It's a lot of work, and publishing houses don't have always the resources to push. I guess I'm a mid-list author, so I'm not some big heavy hitter where they're going to dedicate a team. However, I also want to have a shout out to Priyanka, my publicist. She's the sweetest person. I'm actually going to meet her this weekend, but she's been an absolute delight and helps me with all of these events. I started seeking them out on my own, but once I did, she would do all the coordinating and make sure that they had books ahead of the event, made a little calendar for me. So again, the best team, bar none. So this was my first book, Lovey Bunny. Excuse me, largely based on my childhood. Um, I think my childhood, in fact, a lot of people, when I've been at book signings, will say, "How many children do you have?" And it's always a little awkward, and I'll say, "Zero." And, "Oh, I'm surprised you're writing children's book." And it's like, well, no, I adored my childhood and I want to live in that little space. So that was my first one. Then came, oops, then came The Grumpy
And
Pet.
and the Lovey Bunny is from Abrams, right?
Abrams, yep. And this one
Hmm.
too, The Grumpy Pets. This one was also an adoption theme. It's about a grumpy little boy named Billy who kind of gets dragged along, on Saturday errands with his mom, and they pop into an animal shelter. And he's just like, ugh, with all the cute pets. They're all too cute. I mean, I can show you, I guess, my favorite page of the book, which kind of sums up Billy. Just one second. It isn't. It says he began to look around, but every single pet was just so happy. Blech, he thought to himself. And I have happy, happier, way too happy. So I just had fun with this perennially grumpy kid who eventually finds the dog that fits him, who's also pretty grumpy. But at the end, he's not really walking off with a big smile on his face. He's still grumpy, which is, I guess, my secret message. It's okay just to be who you are, and doesn't mean that you're a bad person if you're a little bit of a curmudgeon. um, then came Mr. Biddles. This is the wild card. This is about a cat inventor uh, who
Oh,
lives alone.
I have
Oh,
to get my hands on that one.
it's hard to find. This book, I don't want to say too much. Probably never had a chance, but um, I love this story. I love anything that takes place on the coast. But basically, it's a lobster delivery gone awry. Somebody,
I love it already.
I'm the one that goes by the lobster tanks and wants to cry. I want to set them loose. I feel bad for them. Actually, when I was in advertising, I set a lobster loose in our agency just to let him walk around because I was horrified that my boss ordered live lobsters from Maine. And I felt bad that they're in this foam container. I got in huge trouble for it. I just
But
let him out.
you didn't take him home though.
What's that?
You didn't take him home.
I didn't take him home. I just let him
Because
out for a little
Kristine,
while.
I see another book here. You know, the
I
lobster adopted you, but I'm not sure that would go as well as with crouton.
No, maybe not. But anyway, so he's a cat inventor. And when this lobster shows up, he says he doesn't see him as food. He sees him as a friend and a helper in the lab. So the Hobson is the name of the lobster, which I got that name from that movie Arthur, the butler. I always loved that character. So Hobson uses his claws to turn lug nuts and help him pick up tiny pieces in the lab. So they get along swimmingly, and they
All right,
become the best of
swimmingly.
friends. But what happens is, if you love something, set it free. And Hobson is deeply homesick for his family, and he has to go away. I won't spoil it.
I got to get my claws on that book.
I love
I
a good
I
quip.
I have a cat story. I think now that perhaps you can help me with it, but we'll do that off camera. So Kristine, we're running out of time.
Oh,
This has been one of
thank
your
you.
advice. I mean, like you've made it big. You know, like you're one out of a billion. To to choose your agent, to have a book deal with Random House, and many gorgeous books. And what is your advice for the people coming up in the ranks, as they say?
Never give up. Never give up, because I had a really hard road to publication. I tried and tried. Again, I was trying to get in as an illustrator, and I did make some attempts at writing. Um, and there were a lot of close calls, but I just couldn't break in. And I didn't give up. And I remember calling my father saying, I just feel like something's got to give. I've been at this for years. And then one day, a lovely editor, I wrote her and I just said, "Am I?" I think I was looking for advice. Am I doing something wrong? And she said, "No, you have what it takes. I wouldn't be surprised if you got a 3-book deal tomorrow." And then I wrote her probably a few months later saying, "Well, I got a 2-book deal." And it was just, I just felt like feeling like somebody in the industry believed in me and said that it it really, it buoyed me up, buoyed, edit that out. Um, but it really just gave me hope. And I just sort of stuck with it. And I think a lot of people give up too soon, or they don't realize how much work it is and how many times you have to redo things.
There's another thing here, and you are kind of a renegade in a sense. Um, there must have been pushback with your color palette. I mean, a
For this
book
book,
with yeah,
there
nobody
wasn't.
nobody said a word. You didn't say to yourself, "Oy vey, gray and pink."
No, and it wasn't intentional. It was simply a tactic I used in the dummy
I,
to liven
I
it up.
know, I know, and what I love about it is that it is so different. I mean, other than it reminds me of the yellow and gray pages of Bemelmans,
Yeah.
but it's such a refreshing. The book is refreshing. It's a funny, hilarious, quirky a look at pet adoption by the pet. The illustrations are precious, and this, I would say almost black and white with this pink is special. It's
Thank
special.
you so much. Yeah, really, it was sort
So,
of
so
the more.
everybody, run out and buy Kristine's book, but save $20 because my book is coming out in 2 weeks, and you want to buy that one also.
Bye, Mel. I'm gonna plug
Anyway,
your book.
you're a sweetheart for that. You're going to interview me too.
If you'd like, I will. We'll switch roles. I want the
No, but
headphones.
you need a blog for that. So listen, we're gonna sign off and say goodbye to everybody who's gonna run out and buy your book,
Okay.
and pre-order mine. You can pre-order it. I just remembered Emily Salvador, and you and I are gonna come back to the same link and talk for a few more minutes and
Okay.
arrange our meeting in New York. And to everybody else, I'm Mel Rosenberg, the host of the Children's Literature Channel of the New Books Network, and author of Emily Salvador, soon to come out in every bookstore in the United States. And I have been interviewing the wonderful, sweet, super talented Kristine Lombardi, and talking about her gorgeous new book, Crouton, which just came out with Random House. So, Kristine will say goodbye to everybody else, and then
Okay.
you and I will come back in.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.